Hello, everyone. It's Paola. Welcome back to my channel. And today I have a very special returning guest. Hi, Chantel. How are you?
Hi, Paola. So good to see you again.
Chantel was actually the first author that I interviewed for my author interview series that I'm doing here. So, Squad 2, tell us a little bit about it without getting into spoilers.
I wish I could show it to you. I don't have a copy of it yet. I just got a copy of the paperback of Muse Squad 1, so I'll show you that. And I think on the inside it's in black and white, but they have a little picture of Muse Squad 2. Muse Squad 1 is set in Miami and it follows the main character, Callie Martinez-Silva, who is a Cuban American 11-year-old girl who discovers she's one of the 9 muses of classical mythology. And so of the 9 muses, 3 other girls are her age. And so they form this kid version of the muses, and they're the Muse Squad. And so they have adventures and they, save the world from an evil siren. In Muse Squad 2, she goes to New York for the summer. So it's set entirely in the summer. So I'm really excited about sort of a summer book. And she stays with her dad and her stepmom and her new baby brother. And all the muses are there too because headquarters have changed, and the headquarters are at the New York Hall of Science where they do their meetings. And mysteriously, they have gotten news that there is possibly a 10th muse. And they don't know who this person is, where they are, and they need to discover who this person is. And so the subtitle is The Mystery of the 10th.
If you haven't read book one, do it right now. It will blow your mind with how amazing, like action packed, wholesome, friendship. It's just, it's beautiful. I really love that first book, and it's such a strong start to the series because, like, the stakes are high. Muse Squad 1 dealt with Callie figuring out her friendships and finding about her powers and her place in the Muse Squad. But Muse Squad 2 deals with Callie figuring out her place in her dad's new family and sort of getting to stretch her muse powers. So was that something you knew you wanted in book two?
Yeah, I was pretty much there from the beginning. I knew when I created this character who was going through a lot, right? So her parents are recently divorced or fairly recently divorced. She's grieving the loss of her aunt who died as well. So I wanted to show this girl who, though she is going through a lot and her family life feels a little tumultuous, that they still love her very much, right? That in the midst of all that chaos, there's still just all this love that pours sort of through those cracks. And when you're little, sometimes it's hard to see, right? That, especially if your dad married another woman and now he's got a new baby with this person and he's moved very far away from me and my brothers. And where's my place in his world? And so there's, some, bumps there, some choques, with her dad, who is also like very strict in that very, traditional Cuban daddy, way, when she goes to spend time with him in New York. But I also wanted to show that, again, that he does love her very much. Do a nice stepmom too. Like stepmoms
Oh,
get such a bad rap, and so I gave Callie a really sweet, loving stepmother. So I always knew that she was going to go to New York. I had a lot of fun writing about New York, which is a city that I love, though I've never lived in it. I wish. But yeah, it was really fun to sort of explore the city and also share the city, like the sites of the city that people maybe aren't so familiar with. So the new Muse headquarters, is in Queens, and oftentimes New York stories are in Manhattan, right there. And if there's a museum, it's the Met or it's the Natural History Museum, and so you don't think of these smaller museums, but it's a great museum city.
so you are a triple threat because you are a mom, a teacher, and an author. So how do you balance it all, like writing, teaching, parenting, especially during the pandemic?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it doesn't feel like balance at all. Like sometimes it feels like you can only give 100% to one of those areas. And the kids are always a slice of that pie, like a huge slice of that, energy pie, right? That they will always be the priority and they always come first. But in terms of sort of teaching and then the writing, sometimes, especially when the semester gets really hot and things are getting very busy, the writing has to fall by the wayside, and it just naturally does. And I'm grateful to be able to have a job where summers, I'm pretty free in the summers, and I can dedicate a lot of time to writing then with the help of summer camp for the kids. But in terms of the pandemic, it's been I've done it with, I wrote 2 books during the pandemic, which I just realized yesterday, and I was sort of shocked, to think that I was able to do it. But I think it's because I had a lot of help. I had a lot of help. So my husband and I are both professors at the University of Miami, and so we were able to craft kind of flexible schedules. So he was teaching and I was home, and when I was teaching, he was home, and my kids did Zoom school at home. So 3rd grade happened in my living room, and 9th grade happened in my daughter's bedroom, and so we were sort of tag teaming, with the kids. And when I had free time and it was my time to work, I was like, because there were parameters like to the time I had, and I only had so much. So it was like, I had to get it done. And he was the same.
The rapid fire section. So are you a plotter or a pantser?
Plotter. And my first 2 books, adult novels, I pantsed, regretted pantsing. It was like you just paint yourself into corners all the time. You write yourself right into a place where you can't get out of without undoing a whole, lot in the work.
Paperbacks or hardbacks?
It's hard. I like having hardbacks because I can put them in a pretty bookcase and they look nice. But I think reading paperbacks is more like, I like the sensation of a paperback. You can, this just feels like nice.
Yeah, I love paperbacks too. The floppier, the better as well. A book you want everyone to read?
I think everyone should read Jenny Torres Sanchez, We Are Not From Here.
Ooh.
It's a YA that came out last year, and I loved very much. It's about these 3 teenagers in Guatemala who are trying to get to the United States. And she's of Guatemalan descent. She is an activist. She has done the work, So Jenny also is giving us a story that is both engaging and, immersive, but also accurate, which I think is important.
Should books be judged by their covers?
No. Just like people. I don't judge people or books by their covers.
What's your purpose in life?
It's a good one. And it's actually something I think about. I do think about it, I think everyone's purpose really should be to help your neighbor, to help your kids, to help your students, right? To sort of lift up as many people as you can. I don't mean be a pushover or a doormat either, Don't forget to be kind and clever at the same time. I think there's a Taylor Swift song from the latest album, right? Which is like, don't be so, I forget which one it is, like, don't be so kind that you forget to be clever, and don't be so clever that you forget to be kind.
I like that. I really, really like that. Tell us about the one exhibit or room in New York Hall of Science that everyone should visit.
So the New York Hall of Science, right, is Muse Squad 2 headquarters, and it's where all the muses gather to have their meetings. And the place where I have the specific exhibit where they meet is inside the Great Hall. And I would say the Great Hall would be the one not to miss. So the New York Hall of Science is really interesting because it is the site of the 1964 World's Fair. And I'm a big like historical buff for World's Fairs. And there are some of the buildings from that event are still there, and the Great Hall is one of them. So if you ever get a chance to go, this museum is in Queens, and it's got like this tower, right? That's made up, it's like a concrete tower, and it is embedded with like blue, like very dark blue glass, right? So it's just shot through with glass, right, all the way up. When you're on the inside of it, it looks almost like you're inside an alien ship, like it just glows blue. And so it's impressive just as a structure. What they've done with it is that they have turned it into sort of like a projection room. So all the way around the walls and on the floor, it's a projection that's interactive. So kids can go in there. And this is a museum, it's a science museum, but it's like for kids, right? Like most science museums are very like kid friendly. And so this one is no exception. And kids can go in there and sort of create and support an ecology, right? And so they can plant seeds, but it's all like with projections. They plant seeds, they bring the rain down, right? It waters the seeds grow into trees, right? Animals come and they can interact with them. And it's all in this virtual but tactile, world within this fantastic 1964 structure, which is the Great Hall. And so I would say that is it. That's like the not miss thing to do. And it's Muse Headquarters. So at first I didn't know. I knew I wanted to do, I knew that Callie was going to New York. I knew Muse Headquarters would change from London to some museum in New York. and I knew I didn't want to do the museums everyone thinks about when they think about New York. And I went to visit my agent in New York, and I stayed with her, and she was like, "Let's go museum hunting." And the Hall of Science is where she would take her kids when they were little. And so we were like, let's go, we're going to Queens, you know? And so we had like this little, you know, adventure in Queens, and we spent the day at the Hall of Science. And I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this has just the right vibe. The neighborhood it's in felt right too. Like, this is a neighborhood that Kylie's parents, dad and stepmom would live in, right? Like this, you know, like this is appropriate, you know, like for them. And so their world got a little bit tight and specific in my head once I went there and saw this place. And it has a World's Fair connection, which is like my goofy obsession, World's Fairs. So it was like meant to be.
I love this. I love your Muse Squad's origin stories. Like, they're the best. Finally, if you could write a retelling of any other myth, Greek or not, which one would it be and why?
You know which myth I've always loved, and it's one that most people have never heard of, and it's the myth of Taurus. Do you know the myth of Taurus? Nobody knows the myth of Taurus. It is like a minor myth, but it's one of those myths that was, I think, created to explain the founding of a city, and that city is the city of Taranto in Italy. Taranto. So the myth is that Taurus was the son of Poseidon, and a nymph is at sea and shipwrecks, right? And so his father, getting sort of news that his son is drowning, sends dolphins to rescue him. And so a dolphin goes and Taurus rides the dolphin to what becomes the city of Tarentum, right? And so then it's named after him, you know? It's like, that's it. Like, that's kind of the whole myth. There's nothing really to it. And that's why no one really knows it, except it's this founding of a city story. But I have found statues of boys on dolphins like all over the world. So there's something about it that artists have been compelled by that image of a boy riding a dolphin, because you now that I've mentioned it to you, you'll see it too. Like, you'll see statues and paintings of boys riding dolphins, and they are inspired by the myth of Taurus. So I would love to do something with it, and I learned about the story, I think, in my early 20s, and it's always sort of stayed with me. Like,
I love that. That's so cool. Thank you so much, Chantel, for doing this with me. I love talking to you, and everyone, please go check it out. I will leave the link in the description below. Once again, thank you so much, Chantel, for doing this with me. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you in another one. Bye.